All my experiences traveling with clients have been traumatic. They've honestly all been so bad, I'm never doing it again. Had a terrible one in Paris where the guy deliberately tried to trap me into like a poo fetish by eating his own poo in front of me. Whatever, it was really awful. I don't think my sexuality really impacts my work too much. If anything, I think making it a little bit easier, there's a kind of delineation between my private life sex and my work life sex. There are a lot of issues I had with being so visible online. People wanted me to be a role model. I would be criticized for things, talking about drug use or all these kind of things. And I was like, man, I was never a role model. These days I feel much more observed and I'm much more private about what I share.
Welcome to Make Them Pay with me, Kate Kennedy. For the last 12 years, I've been a sugar baby in secret until a man tried to out me and I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to out myself. Now I'm diving deep into the world of sex work, breaking down the shame and stigma, having raw, unfiltered conversations with women that make them pay. Tilly, thank you so much for coming on Make Them Pay.
My pleasure.
I feel like we should have started this like 10 minutes ago because of everything we were just talking about. But you are a sex worker, an advocate, a writer and an author of 2 books. You have a history in law. Sorry.
I have a degree in history.
Yeah. And you gained a large Instagram following when you started posting about your work, like pictures of you in brothels and in that, but with really long, articulate descriptions of what it was like to be a sex worker. And so I got put on to you by a friend, and that was the same conversation that told me I was a sex worker. I didn't know until that point. But that was the first time I'd seen someone speak so shamelessly and intelligently about sex work. So first of all, thank you for being that representation I needed. I know that comes with a lot of responsibility and idolatry that maybe you're not comfortable with, and I want to get into that later. Could you give the listeners who don't know you just a quick rundown of your entry into sex work?
Okay, so I started sex work when I was 20. I was living in Sydney. I was studying at Sydney Uni. I didn't have any financial support from family, and my dad was really struggling at the time. He was on like a work for the dole program or whatever. So you know, I got Centrelink for studying, but Centrelink was like enough to like not even cover my rent. So I was like, I'm going to need to start something. And I thought sex work or drug dealing. And then I was like, I'll go with sex work because because I don't think I'm discreet enough for drug dealing. Yeah. The reason they were classed the same in my mind was because at the time, this was back in 2013, I actually didn't even know that sex work was decriminalised in New South Wales.
Yeah.
You know, I'd moved from a small country town in northern New South Wales, come to like the big city, had no idea of legislation or anything like that. I actually think I thought I was doing something illegal. Like I started at a escort agency in the Rocks, and I think I thought I was doing something illegal for the first few months.
Did that kind of add to like the joy of it? Did it feel like bad?
I mean, I guess I was already doing illegal things because, you know, at that age you're like taking drugs, things like that. So I don't think it added to the illicitness of it. Like it was a very like practical reason that I entered. I needed the money. But I guess it did add this feeling of slight unsafety, which, I mean, looking back, the escort agency I worked at, it was quite unsafe because like they didn't really do screening. Like we were sent out at all times of the night to people's homes, like and you know, the agency didn't care to do screening because they weren't the one at risk. You know, you were the one at risk. Most of the guys were like really high on drugs. Which like can be okay, but can be more difficult to deal with and more difficult to control your own boundaries and that kind of stuff. So
was there any training given to the girls at this point on how to deal with
no,
it?
definitely not. Like, and the first booking I went on was only the second guy I'd ever slept with in my life. Yeah. Which luckily he was really sweet. And to be honest, it was a real anticlimax because I was like, oh, that's how easy it is. But yeah, and then I moved to a massage parlor. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I moved to massage parlor work after that, like full service massage parlors, did that for many years, and brothel work as well. I ended up working in brothels and massage parlors for 10 years.
Yeah.
And started escorting simultaneously with that, as in private escorting. And these days I only do private escorting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find the difference between those?
I mean, I make more money in private escorting. You know,
Yeah.
I get 100% of the money rather than splitting it with an establishment.
Do you find it a bit more isolating?
Yeah, no, definitely. I was going to say I really miss the girls' room. I miss the humor that comes from being in a girls' room with other girls. I miss like the camaraderie. But after 10 years of doing it, firstly, I kept getting thrush. Like my pussy just like couldn't handle back-to-back clients anymore.
Yeah.
And also I got sick of when you did have a slow shift, feeling trapped indoors and feeling like I'd wasted a whole day
Oh, yeah.
without making money. Whereas working private, it's like, you know, I can go for a swim, I can read a book, I can chill out at home until I have a booking.
Yeah, you're not waiting in a room.
I'm not sitting around waiting. Yeah. And also I had a friend pass away in 2023 who was very close to me, and she was another brothel worker. And I actually, the process of grieving her, I felt like I couldn't do brothel work anymore. It like reminded me of her too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I shifted to just private work. But yeah, I miss that decade. I get very nostalgic for even the things that were gross at the time, you know, like wandering around naked in the hallway after the shift, like cleaning the rooms and picking up all the condoms and putting them in a garbage bag and like all that kind of stuff, and the smell of like sperm and the smell of like hand sanitizer and baby oil and all those kind of things. Like
it's the nostalgic.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do miss them, even though they're gross at the time. I even miss like little things like, you know, like looking over a client's shoulder and seeing like a mold mark on the ceiling that I could pretend was like a person or an animal or whatever whilst like we fucked, you know, that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Considering you're saying you got into it more for money and you are gay or queer, why are you in it now still, do you think?
I mean, for many reasons. Like, firstly, it's great money, flexible hours. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
After like such a long time, most of my clients now are regulars. I'd say like 90% of my clients are regulars.
So good.
So I have like an established relationship with them. I'm not really going into so many like blind situations where I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's unpredictable. And I don't know what other work would I don't know how employable I am in a normal job, but also I don't think I'd want to do a 9 to 5.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't appeal to me at all. I like that I can go overseas at the drop of a hat, go on holidays at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And also, to be honest, I've always dated women. Like, all my partners have been girls. Like, my current partner is a woman as well. But I do still, like, enjoy sex with men, and even, like, you know, even women who are straight aren't always enjoying their sex with their clients. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So I don't think my sexuality really impacts my work too much. Besides, to be honest, if anything, I think making it a little bit easier because there's a kind of delineation between my private life and my private life sex and my work life sex.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I was actually just reading one of your Instagram captions where you were saying that someone wanted to be really intimate and treat you with a lot of respect because they wanted to differentiate between your clients and them.
Yeah, that was a girl I slept with in London. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar situation recently where he's like, I just want to give you pleasure and be all about you because like you're probably not used to that. And I'm like, I don't think you realize how much of my time is just spent like receiving oral and like doing nothing.
100%. And also this pressure for something to be about your pleasure, I find kind of selfish from the person pushing that on you anyway, you know? They're like, I want it to be about your pleasure. I want you to orgasm. It's like,
that's the thing
because
when
that's
like,
what's going to feed your ego and your pleasure. You know what I mean?
Or when they're like, come for me. I'm like, you just put way too much pressure on me. There's no way I'm going to be able to come.
Yeah.
You are very open in all your captions and your books. I feel like you turned a lot of your captions into your book, Nothing But My Body.
Yeah. Some of it, I think there was about like maybe 1/10 of the book was from captions. Yeah.
Is it weird putting out all that really vulnerable and like open like emotion about you and your partners? Is that weird putting it all out there to the world knowing that everyone... I don't think I could do that.
Well, I guess I started doing it before I had much of a following. Like, I feel like I was writing like that when I probably only had about like 5,000 followers or something. So I grew accustomed to it. And also I was young when I was writing like that, and I wasn't thinking in that way, you know.
Yeah.
I wasn't. It is interesting because these days I feel much more observed and I'm much more private about what I share.
Yeah. I did want
Yeah.
to read one you wrote. You
Yeah.
recently posted saying that I will never have the same relationship with social media as I once did.
Mm.
And sometimes I miss the pure, albeit naive, back and forth connection I once felt with people online. But the more discomfort I feel with the parasocial relationships, idolatry, and hyper scrutiny, the more protective I feel over my own privacy. I want to be less known because I didn't like what came along with it. I always wanted only respect, not fame. Could you talk me through some of those feelings of idolatry and why they make you feel so uncomfortable?
Yeah. So I mean, there were a lot of issues I had with being so visible online. Number one was something we spoke about before this started, which was that I didn't feel comfortable being a stand-in or representative for sex workers generally. I feel like, especially as like a white woman in the industry, which has a lot of like women of color working, I was like, it didn't feel right that I was always the go-to for stuff. I also, the parasocial relationships are I mean, parasocial relationships are partly of your own creating. You know, you're sharing these really personal things about yourself. People read them, they feel an emotional response. They therefore feel they feel they're connected to you. But it also leads to an entitlement from a lot of people in regards to how they approach you, in regards to the standards they hold you to. People wanted me to be a role model. I would be criticized for things like, you know, graffiti or talking about drug use or all these kind of things, and I was like, man, I was never a role model, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not respectable in any sort of scenario. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm a prostitute, I'm a lesbian prostitute, like, I'm you know, I would consider myself middle class now, but there have been times when I have been like very working class or coming from like quite an impoverished background. It's like I don't adhere to these sort of like, I don't know, respectable, like middle class, like ideas of how we should behave. Also, I don't consider myself an advocate. I don't consider myself an activist. I think it diminishes the work of actual activists who spend their lives doing things, you know? Like, I was just speaking about my personal experience and people wanted me to be a particular thing, you know? Also, I've never made money from any kind of, it's not a career for me, you know? I've never made money from any kinds of like public speaking or anything like that. It was like purely done from a sense of like responsibility or obligation that like I am articulate and I was in a position where I could speak publicly about a job that most people can't speak publicly about. And also it came, a lot of my speaking about my work also just came from like a catharsis and this kind of, I suppose, like need to bare my soul and emotions as a way to like purge them, you know, which I suppose is like a real writer mentality, you know. So the things that came from response in that of like people holding you to this like certain standard of behavior that is just firstly impossible to achieve, and being disappointed when you let them down in some way when they don't actually know you, you know. Those are a lot of things that I became uncomfortable
Did
with.
you face a lot of scrutiny?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a lot is. I never faced a lot in terms of, I feel like there are plenty of people who are facing more scrutiny, but for me, if I have an issue with someone, I will approach them directly, privately, and offer to meet up in person. I was uncomfortable with the scrutiny I did face was online, sometimes anonymous, and often quite entitled.
Yeah.
I think that people feel able to speak to someone online in a way they wouldn't in person.
Yeah.
And it wasn't actually that I faced a lot of scrutiny. It was that to me, the scrutiny, the I guess like the social capital that came with being known was not worth the scrutiny.
Yeah.
Like I wanted nothing other than to do what I felt was right and to be respected. You know, like I never wanted a big following. I never wanted to be famous in any way. So all those, you know, and then, you know, brands would come to me, want to do this and want to do that. I always turned down brand deals and things like that because I wasn't interested in growing a following. I wasn't interested in monetizing my personal life, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, it came down to what kind of person I was and like what I value and things like that. Yeah.
I'm starting to get a lot of that. Like my DMs are full. I really like the girls in the industry that reach out to me and I feel like we can have really good chats, but then and I do feel the pressure to reply to everyone right now. I do have a lot of people asking me how to get into the industry and that's where I'm just like, I didn't start this to teach people how to get into the industry. I kind of feel like maybe came from the same angle as you. Like a man threatened to out me and I was like, okay, I'm just going to come out about it, but I want people to know what it's actually like if I come out about it because there's still so many misconceived ideas.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I may as well like tell everyone what I've actually been doing and what it's actually like. But then way, way, way too many girls were like, I want to do it. How do I get in? And I'm like, felt very uncomfortable.
Totally. Like these days when someone asks me that, I'll just refer them to like Swap or Scarlet Alliance and say, ask those things. But I remember when I was younger, I remember one thing, for example, when you talk about scrutiny, I was asked, like someone said, oh, where should you work in Melbourne? And I said, I've never worked in Melbourne. You know, I've always worked at Sydney. And I said, the only brothel I've ever heard of in Melbourne is but I can't speak to it. I don't know anything about it. I've never worked there. And then this girl complained years later in like a sex work group I was in being like, oh, you know, Tilly Lawless directed me to go to luckily I didn't go because like it's a really abusive environment. I would have had a really awful time and like she doesn't actually care about sex workers' safety. And I was like, damn, you know, like you pushed me into an answer. Like I said, I've never worked in Melbourne. Like, you know, that's what I mean of being held to these like impossible. People kind of want you to be a crystal ball with all the answers.
Yeah. And like have a final say and like your word is final and you're like, I literally just gave you like my opinion or honest perspective.
Yeah, totally. My honest perspective. It wasn't even an opinion. I'm like, I know nothing about this place. Like I've never worked in Melbourne. That's the only name of a brothel I know, you know? But like so that kind of thing is that's all those reasons are why I stepped away. And also I think as you get older as well, you also
value your own privacy.
Yeah, you want to keep things to yourself. And you know, there's actually nothing that I regret putting online. Like people always said you regret putting stuff online. There's thankfully nothing I regret. But yeah, I do want to keep things to myself more.
Yeah. I feel that. I keep my private page private because the scrutiny, even if it's good or bad or even like I'm only getting like a little sense of what I assume you've experienced, but like it is just uncomfortable and I want to have the option if one day I just don't want it anymore, I just delete that account and I just have myself. Totally.
And I also think it's like I think in some ways, as I said in that post you read, the back and forth felt like beautiful and organic and it felt like I had this community of people who I could engage with online. But I also think in some ways it's unnatural to have access like that to people. It's very modern. And I think especially as a creative, like as a writer, like, you know, rewind before social media, like the only way that people could access you was like writing a letter to maybe like your agent or your publishers and maybe that would be sent on to you and maybe you would read it, you know? And so I think also the way that people felt I actually will always appreciate like a genuine message from someone saying how much they like something or what it made them feel or whatever. But I also didn't like the way that people would like tag me in criticisms of my work. I felt that was very odd and not how you would approach someone
in
real life. And also just not conducive to better writing or better work from me and not helpful to a creative practice in any way. Like I don't actually think it is helpful for someone who's creating anything or putting anything vulnerable out in the world to be able to access everyone's opinions on it, you know?
Very damaging.
So that's
yeah. I feel that. I think, as I was saying before, like this is the first time I've had a pretty hectic job that requires me to be on it, but I'm also on social media a lot and I'm on my computer a lot, that I feel like I really need to balance it by going out with my friends a lot, which normally involves drinking and partying.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then the come downs afterwards kind of spiral me because I'm like, oh my God, what is the internet and how far is this shit I'm putting out? But I really need the balance to remind me that like normal people don't speak like that. Like people on the internet are a different breed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to balance like trying to keep my social life very thriving outside because I need that for my mental
Totally.
health.
And you also I think you become a vehicle for people's emotions when they perceive you as a public figure.
Yeah.
You know, they're upset or frustrated about something else. Maybe they are a little bit upset and frustrated at you, but they channel a lot of other things into you because you become representative of so much else, you know?
And I think being a sex worker online right now is a bit of a hotspot because you do have these girls doing these extreme things and people are really mad at them, and then you just have girls popping up everywhere because they're now funneling people to their OnlyFans page or advertising themselves, and then there's more of the activists. So like I feel like when you and I started,
there wasn't really the social media thing.
There wasn't
sex work
social
when
media,
I started, yeah.
but also in my world, I started in America and then in Australia, but it was like I had so much shame around it. And you have never really seemed to speak about it like that. How did you
I don't feel like I've felt shame generally in my life.
Ever.
Like people say that feeling gay shame is an innate experience of being gay. I knew I was a lesbian at 14 and I've never felt shame. The only thing is and I've never felt shame around sex work. It's very interesting. But my father was really left-wing growing up, and maybe that's why that was. But my mum wasn't left-wing, so who fucking knows? But the only thing I have felt shame with really interestingly is class shame. When I've been around like a bunch, especially in somewhere like the UK and where the class system is like really clear, and I've been around a bunch of like rich kids, like affluent, like really well educated, like, you know, upper middle class and I'm the one kid who has to, I have this self-consciousness and shame that I have to hide. I did feel it a lot more when I was younger. I had to hide the fact that my, you know, dad lived in my garage sometimes because he didn't have any money. You know, I had to hide the fact that I didn't know what, you know, so like I would go to someone's house and they would have one of those things in the sink that crunches up all the food. You know, and I'd never seen one of those. You know, things like that. You're just like, oh, I didn't know what a dragon fruit was. Like there were all those kind of things I felt an intense shame over, but I never ever felt shame about sex work or queerness.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great mentality to have because honestly, if I hadn't heard you speaking, you and a few others, but you were definitely the first I saw speaking so shamelessly about it, and I was like, I didn't know we could. Especially because it was a girl my age in Australia. Like you see some things coming out of America and stuff, but like, or older women finally coming out, but like someone my age just talking about it, I was like, oh, is this something we can do? And seeing how people perceived you.
Yeah.
Because I never saw the scrutiny. Like in my world of sex workers, everyone seems to speak quite highly of you. I think I even messaged you this a few weeks ago on Instagram. Like even my beautician who was like lasering me, as she was like down there with me, spread eagle, she was like, you should interview Tilly Lawless. Like, and I was like, I think she's too smart for me. I can't keep up words. But yeah, I think you do it. I think you do a really good job. But I think it's hard trying to be the representation of a very broad group of people. Yeah. And I think the only time I kind of felt like I actually had this conversation with Julie Bates after I was like, in the beginning, I didn't feel like I was allowed to have a voice because I am like a privileged white girl basically. And I entered this because I like it and I make good money in consideration. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm allowed to have a voice. And she's like, get that thought out of your head. Like you need to speak up just as much as everyone and you need to speak up because a lot of people can't. And I was like, okay. So she kind of got me back a bit, but it was scary. Your book, Nothing But My Body, which I fucking love, talks about all your experiences through sex work and kind of mumbles it into one shorter story. And there were so many parts of it I love, so many. One of them was just like when a man was just like, darling, I need to take you to Paris. And you're like, I can take myself to Paris. I've already been. And I think that's something that men don't really understand about sex workers is that we are educated. I'm more
better traveled than your clients, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anywhere that they've ever taken me, I've already been myself.
Well, also, I think a lot of them don't realize that we have a life that exists beyond that moment with us, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same way clients will message me being like, are you free right now? And it's like, no, I'm like, I'm living a whole life. I'm having lunch with a friend. I'm going swimming after that. I'm doing
Yeah.
this after that. Like, I think a lot of them see us as so two-dimensional, which, I mean,
yeah, I also think the guy I'm seeing right now does that too. He's like, hey, come at 6 p.m. And I'm like, perfect, I'll be there. And then at 3, he'll be like, can you just come now? And I'm like, I can get there as soon as possible, but maybe like 5. And then at 4, he's like, where are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think it's more, with him, I think it's a bit of entitlement.
yeah.
Which we are unpacking with him in general because he knows he's quite entitled. He like blew up at the Uber driver.
Is he very rich?
Yeah.
I feel like also that's
old
rich
money.
guys. Yeah, I mean, they're also used to people being at their beck and call and you know, having something when they want it right now, you know? Yeah.
I won't say where he's from, but he grew up with workers around him constantly, and he said that even I don't want to give him away, but like even they called him boss at a young age, so he grew up with entitlement. And I'm like, okay, let's start to unpack that because I don't want to deal with this. He wants to travel with me, and I'm like, oh, I feel like that would be so uncomfortable.
That would be so hell.
Yeah. Do you travel much with clients?
No, I really hate it. All my experiences traveling with clients have been traumatic. They've honestly all been so bad. I'm never doing it again.
Why?
Well, firstly, honestly, I need my alone time. So even being away, even being with someone for a few days, let alone away with them, I feel so trapped and claustrophobic. To me, it's like not worth the money.
Yeah.
Like I actually don't do overnights anymore, even in Sydney, because waking up and knowing I've got to hang out with the person immediately, I feel so panicky that it's just like, why am I putting myself through this? Do you know what I mean? But no, all my experiences overseas, well, I had a terrible one in Paris that you would have read about in my book the guy like,
can you tell that story?
Where the guy like basically hadn't checked with me about what fetishes I would do and like deliberately tried to trap me into like a poo fetish by eating his own poo in front of me, whatever. It was really awful. And then I couldn't speak French, and so I was, you know, in this place where I didn't know anyone, didn't speak the language, and had to like flee in the middle of the night from the place I was staying before he got back. And then another time I went to Bali with a client, and he didn't tell me beforehand that actually I was his replacement on a friend's trip. A girl had broken up with him, and so he didn't want to come alone on this like couples trip, and so he brought me, but he just invited me to Bali. He didn't give me a heads up that I would have to pretend to be his girlfriend.
Oh, fuck.
And he was in his 50s and all his friends were in their 50s, and so it was very obvious I was being paid to be there, and they were asking me like, how did you meet each other, like blah blah blah, and it was so awkward. Even like the Balinese boys, when we went like snorkeling, were being like, so is he your boyfriend? And I was like, oh my God, everyone's like side-eyeing this, because I was like, I don't know, like 24, and like at 24 I looked like 18, you know? And it's just something about not being able to escape. Like, and I like to keep my holidays. I know that some people are like, oh, it's great if you can make money while on holidays. I'm like, no, I'll make money when I'm in Sydney. Yeah. And then my holidays.
And it's not a holiday when you're with someone in a working sense, because like you are constantly like having to entertain them. But also some girl said to me that recently, she's like, what should I charge for this, because he seems to think that I shouldn't be paid for sleeping. And I was like, cunt, if you've ever slept next to an old man who snores, he wants to hug you, he wants to wake you up in the middle of the night
because they're horny.
You need to charge double for sleeping, because like it's just, that is probably like the worst part of it for me. And no,
I'm thankfully at a point now, like financially, where, you know, through my early 20s, I had to do all sorts of things I didn't want to do when I first started in the industry, because I really needed the money. The point I'm at now, I can say no to stuff. And thank fucking God, it really changes your relationship with the work. Yeah.
Did you learn all those boundaries pretty fast, or did it take you a while?
Totally through fast, but through trial and error.
Yeah.
And through like bad things happening, you know, through like, you know, you learn to always get the money up front, because, you know, I kissed a guy and then afterwards he called me a slut and refused to pay me for kissing that he'd asked for. You know what I mean? Like there's always something that, or like you learn to hide your money because someone takes it, you know, all those kind of things. But they definitely teach you better boundaries, and they teach you how to manage men, I think, as well, you know, how to like de-escalate like conflict, all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is skills that you can't actually learn except on the job, unfortunately.
Through trial and error. How is dating for you? Because I feel like it would be much easier as a sex worker dating women, but I don't know.
100%. I mean, I've had a few really intense kind of toxic relationships, but none of them have been because of sex work.
Yeah.
Sex work definitely hasn't complicated my relationships. I mean, my first girlfriend when I'd started sex work, she was also a sex worker. So that made it easy. Another girlfriend I dated had been a reception at a brothel I was at. So like she also understood the industry. My girlfriend right now is not a sex worker, but she's trans, and there's like so much crossover between the trans community and sex work community. There's a lot of understanding. Yeah, like I have had really intense romantic relationships. My one now currently is really good, but the two before that were really awful. Mainly to do with addiction stuff. But yeah, sex work was never an issue with them. Yeah,
that's good. I think men come with a bit of jealousy and ego.
Oh, 100%. It like really, it's a hit to their masculinity.
Yeah, and maybe like an ownership.
Definitely a possessiveness and things like that. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess all relationships are complicated, no matter if they're men or women.
Totally,
kind of got to navigate those things.
Yeah. And I do think there is an element of though that sometimes you stay in relationships you shouldn't as a sex worker because you think I'm undateable or no one else is going to want to date me. So I do think I maybe like compromised or put up with a little bit more than I would have if I wasn't a sex worker.
Yeah. I had a guy say that to me once. He was like, yeah, but I'm okay with what you do. And I'm like, yeah, but I can find other people that are okay with what I do. I don't need to put up with this because you're okay with what I do.
Totally. Yeah.
And I did want to I want to get one of my exes on who was very okay with what I do because I want him to be a representation for women in this industry who
that's
exactly what you just said. Like people maybe deal with a lot of shit because they think that's all they're worth as a sex worker, or they might not get any better. But I want to be like, no, there are plenty of really nice, good men out there that are accepting of sex workers.
Totally. No, that's cool that he's open about dating sex workers too.
Also, last night I told my sugar daddy about this whole podcast situation. I told him it was an idea, not that I
okay.
I don't want him to listen to it just yet, but he just kept pressuring me, and eventually he loves to talk about courtesans, and so we talk about that a lot. And in the end I was like, I actually want to do this podcast, and he's like, you must do it, and you must do it now before anybody else does it. And I was like, okay, fuck yeah,
that's
sick.
So funny. When he eventually does listen, he's going to see it's been going on for a while.
Well, he also just said he can't stand podcasts and he will never listen to
well then that's fine. You're perfect. You're safe. That's fine.
I'm like, but
you can play him little clips
I think
that are suitable.
Yeah, I don't need
where you say how much you love your sugar daddy.
I do. I love him so much. And clip that and send it to him. Okay, I know you need to get off to a booking now, so I won't keep you anything longer. But I did want to know, a lot of girls, especially on social media, are seeing sex workers and thinking that it is maybe a path they want to go down. What is your advice to people thinking that they want to get into the industry?
I mean, I don't really, I suppose, have advice. I guess I would caution thinking about the long-term repercussions. Firstly, are you somewhere where it's legal? For example, South Australia, it's still completely illegal. Also, things like, for example, I can't get into the United States because of being out about sex work. Even if you're not out about it, you can be stopped if you've done OnlyFans, for example.
I do wonder how I'm seeing so many fucking OnlyFans creators in America right now.
Are they doing full service?
No.
That's kind of the difference.
Right.
It's generally full service and America classes as prostitution.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about that until I saw your TED Talk on it. And I was like, I've lived in America and have half my life there. And
it's become worse since Foster Sester in 2017.
Yeah.
And also has become worse more recently with them doing a lot of facial recognition and stuff. So probably back in the day, it was a lot easier to get in.
Yeah. Well, I didn't actually know I was just doing sex work, but I was crossing the border from Canada to America every week, and I would get grilled, but it's because I had a old student visa in my passport with a big cross through it. Yeah, so they thought I had a boyfriend there and I was going to try and go in and stay.
Oh.
So I didn't know I was doing anything wrong, luckily, because I was just quite argumentative every time. I'd be like, fuck off.
They'll question you for lots of things. They'll question you as well if a man's paid for your flights. I know girls who've actual boyfriends have paid for their flights and they get questioned because a man's paying for your travel. You could be doing sex work.
Right.
But I guess other things to think about is, for example, I would really love to be a high school teacher, and I don't think I'll ever get hired working with kids.
True.
After being so publicly out about sex work. Also, it affects you in things like custody battles. Women still very much have it used against them. Like, it is still, I don't know. I don't know if I would like recommend or ever advise anyone getting into it. You know?
I tend to say the same. I'm like, I don't know you, and I don't know if you would enjoy this. Like, I know I enjoy it. For my personal reasons, I really like it. But I don't think, I think you're just seeing money and thinking that you want to get in 100%.
It. And also they're seeing, you know, fast money is fast money, but it's not easy money.
No. And it's not consistent money.
It's definitely not consistent money. I don't know, like, I love my job now, but definitely there were like quite a few years in my early and mid 20s where I really hated it. Because I was so burnt out, I couldn't afford to stop.
Was that more in brothel days?
Yeah, that was like brothel, massage parlor days. Yeah. So I don't, I feel like I can't answer that question properly because it's not something that I would advise them. I do sometimes give like close friends advice if like, because I have a relationship with them. You know them. It's very different. As you said, you don't know someone's circumstances advising a stranger. But I guess I would say, you know, find out the legality of where you're working, where it's even legal. Think about the long-term consequences. Think about what kind of sex work you'd want to do, whether you want to do one that's like low touch, like for example, like phone sex or, you know, camming, things like that don't actually involve like person-to-person contact, or if you're okay doing something that's more touch, if you want to work in an environment with other people, or if you would rather work alone, if you want to do things that require like marketing and self-promotion, or like, for example, like something like brothel or massage parlor work doesn't really require self-promotion or marketing or advertising because the house does all of that for you. So I guess I would think about all those things. But in saying that, like a lot of people enter the industry without thinking about those things because they enter the industry completely out of like financial need or desperation, which is how I entered it too, you know, like I knew nothing about what I was doing. So I guess it's
what
hard to also
financial advice.
Oh, financial advice. I guess one of the most important things to do, and what I started doing quite young, and I'm glad I did, is put money into a superannuation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because like obviously you're getting paid directly. You're not having any money to go into super. And I met so many older like working girls who've been working for like 20 years who were like, I burnt all my money when I was young because I thought the money would keep coming like that.
Yeah.
And they have no savings. They're working, you know, reception at a parlor and hating it because they have no savings. They can no longer, you know, do sex work themselves because they're not perceived as desirable for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really important to put your money into super and just save, I think. And also, I think not something that I'm conflicted about. Obviously, I think everyone has a right to choose what they do with their bodies, but I do see so many young women who put all their money into work, you know, like into like
cosmetic.
Like, cosmetic stuff. And I'm like, that, like, the beauty industry encourages women to spend money, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and women live in greater poverty in old age than men do. Like, we do, because we make less super. Like, single women especially are really vulnerable to like poverty and homelessness in old age. It's like, as women, like, we really need to be thinking about saving.
Yeah.
And all of this beauty industry stuff targets the expendable income of women, which we will probably need in our old age.
Yeah.
Because we make less money than men do, you know? So I think it's really, really important.
And it's also like, and it's not a one-time cost. Like, my friends have started getting preventative Botox, and I'm like, now you have to keep doing that.
Which we also don't even know if it works yet because it hasn't been around long enough, you know? The idea of preventative Botox is like a very new thing.
You need to constantly be doing it. Your lips, your everything. Like, I personally, I just like hate spending money. I've always been a really good saver.
Totally.
I've always put it away.
Yeah.
And the idea of cosmetics, and I'm like, that is just an ongoing cost forever now. Like,
You are
100%. Locked into that.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand that for some workers it's an investment. Like, they're going for a certain kind of look when they're getting their titties done or like whatever. That I completely understand and respect when it's an investment, and it's leading to a higher return in your business.
Yeah.
But for many girls, it isn't leading to a higher return, you know?
And you and I both have natural titties, and I normally go shoeless. Like, we're both
guys really like it. They
I
like
find
the
they
all
like it
natural
more.
look. Yeah, totally.
I struggle to understand how women go to a job with a full face of makeup when, like, first of all I do is get in the shower first, and then you're on white linen sheets, and I'm like, I can understand why most men don't like makeup, but I don't think many women understand, because my friends are always like, but what do you wear, and like, how do you dress?
Well,
when
I
you
wear,
go?
I wore makeup when I first started at an escort agency because everyone told me I had to.
Yeah.
And then I hated wearing it. I took it off. And actually, as soon as I took it off, I started getting booked more because I look younger. You know? And I never, ever wear makeup for work. And that, I guess, has become my niche, you know, like clients really, really like that about me.
Right.
But yeah, I think saving is probably the big thing, I would say.
Yeah.
Because also firstly, we don't have things like work cover if you break your ankle, things like that. We don't have any sick leave, all those kind of things. So it's really important to have a buffer for
even
if you go
you
through
just
a bad
thrush.
Yeah. Oh my God, 100%. Yeah. It's important to have a buffer, and also a buffer for if you're mentally unwell and can't work for a bit, which like I went through a few months of not working after my friend passed away in 2023, and I was so lucky that I had savings to just like kind of not work for about 3 months after she died.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's what I would say. But I don't have a particular formula for saving. Like, you know, I just find it kind of easy to save.
I've never had to think about it because I'm more like budget myself always rather than like have to put away a certain amount.
Yeah. And I feel guilty if I spend too much money as well.
I feel very guilty. Yeah. If I have nice things, it's because someone else has bought it for me. But I would never buy it myself. Totally. And even as a 20-year-old, anything nice he would buy me, I would just go and sell straight afterwards, because I was like, I don't want this. And it wouldn't fit into my lifestyle. People would be like, completely. Why the fuck did you get that bag? I used to ask people what their advice to men was on how to please women, but they just give me, every girl just said slow down and be better at communication. So I'm going to change it.
That's so funny.
Your personal kink?
Sexually?
Yeah.
I don't think I have a personal kink, but what I do, well, I guess I like sex to be fun and playful. I don't like really serious sex.
Yeah.
Like, I often like laughter in sex. I don't like solemn sex. Like, I remember that TV show that everyone loved, Normal People. I couldn't get into it because they don't laugh with each other.
Oh.
All they do is have like really serious sex all the time, and everyone was like, oh, it's so intimate, it's so amazing, it's so real. And I was like, you're kidding. You're not like laughing while you're fucking someone?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just think it should be playful. To me, it's kind of like a game. And the other thing, I'm quite a curious person. And I think that's one of the reasons I like sex work as well, is that I'm always meeting different people and having different kinds of sex. And like, you know, I think variety
and you get
really
to know them really well in a really short amount of time because you're in such a vulnerable position.
Totally, like an accelerated intimacy for sure. But I think variety and fun would be my kink. But I don't have any real actual kinks.
Wow.
Like, I see a lot of fetish clients, so I feel like it would be I've experienced like real kink and people who have like a real fetish that, you know, is prominent in all the sex they have, and there's nothing that I'm like gagging for all the time, you know? Like,
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on Make Them Pay. I really appreciate it. I didn't want to like fangirl you because I know how you felt about the idol tree, but I was just like, but I really appreciate. You said you didn't know if you were adding anything valuable to the conversation. I think you've only added valuable things.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. Yeah.
So, thank you.